Hello, my mamas, my friends. Get excited. We're live. Technical difficulties, real quick. Oh my goodness, look who's here. Guys, Bevin Ferrand is here. Get excited. Drop her some love as you guys are hopping on. We're sending you guys some love back. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're live, say hello. If you're catching the replay, drop a hashtag replay. I seriously am so excited I can barely get words out. Deep cleansing breath, everyone. If you have not met Bevin, you are in for a treat today. She is the founder of the Take the Damn Chance movement. I always get them backwards. And the Do the Damn Thing method. And they are both life-changing if you give yourself into 30 minutes to hear Bevin's story and let it inspire you, let it lift you, let it allow you to dream again of what is possible for your life, because you know it's true that if somebody can do it, it's possible for you too, which is really exciting and why I love to hang out with powerhouse women like Bevin. So I'm going to stop talking. You're here to see her. I see some friends joining us. So drop us some love. Drop Bevin a big thank you for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Bevin, to share your story with us, share your gold nuggets that are on your heart for us today. And we'll leave it open at the end for any questions from our audience. And thank you. Thank you for being here. Bevin, take it away.
Awesome. And I cannot see comments anywhere. So if you have questions, you'll have to let me know what they are.
Sure, will do. Will do.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. I mean, I cannot remember when you and I first connected, but I do just remember, I think it's been a little over a year, maybe a year and a half. And I remember just seeing your story of you as a mom with your son. And just, the first time I saw you was you dancing with him while he was on his vent. And I was just like so blown away by your spirit, and I just loved it. And so I'm so excited to be here and share with all the moms, because I am a mama. I'm also an entrepreneur. I am a solo parent. So I, like you said, if I can do some of these things, anybody can do them. So the background of my story is that in 2019, my husband, Mark, surprised me that he was going to take me to France for my 40th birthday. He told me on Mother's Day that he was going to do this, and he was going to take me in November. So we had 6 months to plan, but we had two little ones. Guinevere was 2 and Jonathan was 4 months old. So we needed time to prep. Like I needed to pump breast milk, all those things. And so then 2 weeks after that, I got laid off for the third time from a job that I absolutely loved, that I was not, I thought I was going in for a promotion, and instead I got laid off. So all of a sudden, like, we're like, do we cancel this trip? What do we do? We decided we were going to wait until November and then decide if we needed to cancel it. So a couple weeks after that, I went to Mark. We live in the country, so we were walking on our country road, and I said, I don't think I'm going to look for a job. I think he was kind of like, what? I said, I think I'm going to I don't want to put the financial health of my family into the hands of any one person ever again. So I'm going to start my own business using what I've learned for the past 10 years in digital marketing, business strategy, branding, and I'm going to use it for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So we did it as a proof of concept. I said, look, if I can make $5,000 by the end of August, then this is viable and I'll keep going. And so I made $0 in June. I think I made $1,000 in July, but by the end of August, I had hit my $5,000. And then I want to say by October, I was hitting $10,000 months. So it was still very new, but it seemed like it was going to pick up momentum. So we decided to go on that trip, and even the day before we left, though, we're like, is this totally crazy? Like, we're going to be on the ground in Bordeaux the same amount of time we're in planes. So, but we went, we had an incredible time, great food, delicious wine. We got to be together as a couple, the way we were before we had kids, before we got married. And really just I remember Mark looking at me being like, I feel like I'm getting to know you again. Like, I feel like I'm getting to know the real you again. And so we came home, and it was Thanksgiving week. So he had taken the whole week off work. We got ready for the holiday, did stuff around the house, took our daughter to her first movie theater show, had Thanksgiving, which is always my favorite holiday. And it was pre-COVID. So we had like 25 people there. And then the next morning, the day after Thanksgiving, I went upstairs to wake up Mark, and he was ice cold and had passed away in the middle of the night. And we had no idea that he was sick. This was not like we had gone to France as our last hurrah. He had undiagnosed heart disease. One of his arteries was 95% blocked. The other was 50% blocked. And so now all of a sudden, I was a solo parent of 2 children under 3 with a very fledgling business that had not been like stood the test of time. So sole financial provider, heading into a pandemic, and doing all of it without my best friend and the love of my life by my side, who was also my biggest cheerleader. And so my life was not just flipped upside down, it was like tumbled down a hill upside down. And I made a post about a month later on Facebook, and I said, I didn't really talk about my birthday much this year, and we had done this trip, and then I lost Mark. But I was so glad that we had been on that adventure together. And whenever you're faced with the choice, just take the damn trip. And that really resonated with people. I got so many messages from people who said, I took this amazing trip with my parents right before I lost my dad, or we're going to do this. And I realized, like, again and again, it's not about a vacation. It's not actually about a trip. And so we have changed it to take the damn chance. Like, take the chance on yourself, on your business. And I also then looked at what are the hardest things that I've been through. Losing Mark, obviously, but also losing my dad when I was 24 because he passed away from cancer, being laid off 3 times. I lost my home in a house fire in 2010. I've been through years of fertility treatments, including a miscarriage to have my kiddos. But then also, like, what are the most amazing things that I've done? Having those kiddos, building that business that I talked about, building it from $0 to $300,000 in 18 months, even while grieving the loss of my husband and in the middle of a pandemic, building our dream home, all of these things. And I said, what is it that I do differently than other people? Not better or worse, but just differently to navigate these things. And so that's where I came up with the DAM framework. So that I say the word DAM a lot because it's easy to remember and it does mean something. So the 4 mindset shifts that I have seen that are so powerful are decide and declare, attend your own party, moments, not minutes, and now is the time. And so that framework is the basis of all of my work. It is the basis of the do the damn thing method. It is the basis of, I have a mastermind called Grow the Damn Business. Everything is based on those 4 mindset shifts because I know once you see them, you can't unsee them, and you can apply them to anything. I use it daily as I'm parenting my children. Like, I'm like, okay, I need to get present in the moment. We got to attend to this party. And like, how do I want to decide and declare how I'm going to show up? And I used it to bring my biggest, boldest dream to life, which is that when Mark passed away, we were 60 days away from starting a new round of IVF for our 3rd child. And so in 2020, I decided to move forward with that. And in 2021, I welcomed my 3rd daughter. And so now I have 3 children under the age of 6. So it's a really powerful framework, and I'm so excited to really share it here.
I have to find my words again after hearing this story because there's so much involved in that, right? It's not just a powerful story, but it's what you chose to do with it, right? Because we all have impactful things. We all have losses, or we all have things going on, but we also have a choice. And sometimes it takes us a lot longer than a month to say, you know what, I'm glad that I took that trip, or I'm glad that I took this chance, or you know what, I'm going to continue with a legacy that this loved one would have wanted me to continue with, or whatever each person's circumstance is. But I think that what you've done is really, really special, because so often when, as humans even, including, moms, but just in general, all people, when we deal with a trauma, it's really easy for us to retreat and to hold on to that and to want to protect it and to not want to go public with it, or not even want to sit with it, and to be able to have the mindset so soon, not a decade later, but within
Yeah.
the first few years of saying, okay, I'm going to do something with this. I have power. And even if it hurts, I'm going to be authentic. Even if it's hard, I'm going to be authentic, and I'm going to bring others on this journey with me and show what is possible, not to try to be inspiring necessarily, but
Right.
just to try to be me and to try to live a life that feels good to me. And I feel
Yeah.
like that's a piece that so many miss. So many of us are walking around year after year, decade after decade, feeling sad about something that's gone on and not honoring the life that was.
Right. Well, okay. So to be clear, I didn't like wake up the next day or even the month later and say like, how do I turn this into a
Right.
movement? Like,
I say
because
that too. It wasn't
yeah, like,
overnight.
yeah. I mean, there are still days. I just got off a call with one of my clients and I was like, yeah, I'm really tired of being sad right now. And because I grieve Mark every day.
Mhm.
And I grieve the loss of like, I'm going to cry, but like the other day I was like, my daughter will never know her dad, my youngest daughter. There will never be any pictures of him holding her. And that's really, really hard. And what I say is there are no bad emotions. And so I don't try to deny the fact that I'm sad. I think that we can, I think we can hold multiple emotions. So I always say, like, I'm not happy that I'm grieving. I'm happy and grieving. Like, I am so happy that I get to spend the day with my children. And I still have this like intense sadness that I am grappling with. And so when I made that post and people responded, I didn't know what it was going to become, but I just had this feeling that it was going to become something. And so it wasn't until really a year later that, which still feels like you said, very like quick, that I even thought about like the damn framework. And so, so yes, that is true. One of the pieces when I talk about attending our own party is we can't choose what happens to us. We can always choose how we respond.
Yes.
And I saw that when my house burned down. So I lived in a building with 6 units. And so all 6 of us were displaced. They had to gut the whole building. And the difference between how I responded to it and how other people responded to it was so extreme. And so like I sold my unit as soon as I could. And it was 3 years later. It was such a disaster. But as soon as we had occupancy, I was like, okay, it's on the market. I got an offer, closed 3 weeks later. It was amazing. Closed on Valentine's Day. We called it Freedom Friday. I was like, I'm out. I'm done.
Yes.
But other people were like, well, you can't sell it yet. I'm like, I sure can. So it's just, one of the other things I talk about is 100% radically loving responsibility for our role in the experience of our life.
Yes.
And so when we do that, when we take 100% radical responsibility, but radically loving, then we take responsibility for how we are experiencing the world. It is not my fault that Mark died. It is not my fault that my house burned down. It is not my fault that my dad got cancer or I had a miscarriage or any of those things. And I can take 100% responsibility for moving forward. So I can choose how I tell the stories of Mark to my children.
So good.
I can choose how I show up and honor like all the feelings, the sadness, the joy, the frustration, the grief, all of those things.
Yes.
And so in doing that, we take responsibility for how we are experiencing life, which means we also get to take responsibility for all the amazing things we do. Because I don't think we do that enough. We're like, oh, well, that was like my team, or I didn't really. No, we say, yes, I did that. I made that happen. But we also then release responsibility for other people's experience. It is not I can be responsible. I can be 100% responsible for how I show up, but not how things end up. And so knowing that as a mom, like even when we have conversations with our partners or other family members or our kids, it's like, I don't know if you've ever tried to reason with a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old, but like it's not there's not a lot of guaranteed success there, shall we say. So I can't like guarantee how those conversations are going to end up, but I can decide how I show up.
Mm.
And I can decide in an instant, whew, I've done this where I'm like, I will snap at one of my children, and then I will like not immediately, but sometimes I will be like, that's not how I want to show up.
Mhm.
I'm going to show up differently right now.
Mm.
Doesn't mean that what I just did was wrong. It doesn't mean that I need to go back and change it. It's just, okay, I can make a commitment in this moment to show up differently. So it is powerful stuff. And I know you and I talked briefly before we, had this about kind of where people listening might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things, so my commitment is to helping people bring their big, bold dreams to life, often big, bold, crazy dreams, right? Because I think crazy dreams are the best dreams. And when I ask people, like, what is that? Like, what is your big, bold dream? They're like, I don't know. I think often we have forgotten how to dream like children. When we have something that we actually do know that we want and we have this dream, we immediately edit it as we're dreaming it. We're like, oh, yeah, I want to start a business, but it won't work for this and this and this. Or I want to make this move, but it won't work for this and this and this reason. I want to go back to school, but I can't because of this. I want to have another kid, but I can't. All these things. So we immediately edit our dreams.
Yeah.
So the first piece of the do the damn thing method is crafting your own damn manifesto. And that is your yes in order to why. And so the first piece of it, I take people through this 5-day process of finding your yes. But the first part of that is dreaming big. Like, we got to get all the possible dreams down without editing, without censoring. So it's like a meditation and then a journaling exercise where you just write and write and write and write and write without editing. Just get it on the paper. And then the next day, we narrow it down and we say, okay, if you had to choose your top priority for now, what would it be? And then, there's other parts that you go through. And so that's your yes, right? That is the thing you want more than anything else in the world. Like, my yes is to share the damn framework with as many people as possible in as many ways as possible. That's my yes when it comes to business. That is my yes. But then we look at the why. And people will tell you all the time, like, find your why. But they don't go deep enough. So I have what I call the 6-dimensional why, which is, if you were to bring your big, bold dream to life, how is it going to impact 6 very important aspects of your life? Because it's going to impact them. A lot of times we just ignore that. So those are financial, emotional, mental, physical, social, and spiritual. And so you dig into that, right? You dig into, like, if you want to start a business, how is it going to impact you financially, both negatively and positively? Emotionally, how is it going to impact you? How is it going to impact you physically, socially, spiritually, all of those things? And again, you can apply this to anything. I recently have tested whether I can apply this to fitness, right? Because I have truly tried like every fitness program possible and always fallen off the bandwagon on it. Because if you only have one why, right? If you want to start a business for financial freedom, or you want to get fit for you want to look better, or you want to have another kid for, like for me, it was like, that's one of my sole purposes. Hanging a big dream on one flimsy little why, when it gets hard, and it always gets hard, right? You always have hard moments. When it gets hard, then that why may not be able to withstand that pressure. If you want to start your own business for financial reasons, when it gets hard, you're like, the money is not worth it. But if you also have emotionally, I will feel so proud, and mentally, I will feel challenged, and I will feel like I am constantly learning and growing. And physically, I get to work from anywhere, and I can get up and have dance parties with my kids. So you work through those 6 dimensions of the why, and then you craft it into your damn manifesto. So my whole damn manifesto for my business is to share the damn framework with as many people as possible in as many ways as possible in order to create a sustainable, thriving business that both supports and inspires my children in the world. Because when I then say that, when it supports and inspires, that encompasses my physical wise, my financial, emotional, mental, social, spiritual. It encompasses all of that in one simple to say, easy to remember sentence. So that becomes your touchstone for when things get hard or when you're like, man, why did I even want to go after this? Right? Why did I even want to do that? That's your touchstone. Or when you're going after something, right? Like you have this big dream of writing a book or starting a business or whatever it is. Like if you have this damn manifesto, then you hold other ideas up to it and say, does this move that forward or not? And that becomes an easier yes or no. So that is always the first part of bringing a big, bold dream to life. And it is a part that most people skip over. And that is why we fall off track, we get stalled, we lose focus. It's because we don't have that. So that's been like my experience with all of my clients. No matter what they want to create, we start with the damn manifesto. Then we build on that, right? We build your foundation, we build your momentum. But the first piece is always that damn manifesto, and really starting to like by declaring it to yourself, and then other small, like you can hear my kids in the background.
Like, love it.
Yeah, Mom, I know I'm like waiting for them to burst through the door. They've got so many calls, interviews, all the things with me. People know who they are.
They're such troopers. They're welcome anytime in this space.
So yeah, so that to me is like, that's how we bring our big dreams to life. And I get it. If we feel like either I don't know what it is or I've lost touch with it, that is the part where we get back in touch with it so vividly that it's tangible.
So good. So good. I just put up there questions and comments. So I'm also going to pop into the Facebook group here. Make sure I'm not missing anything because I'm not seeing any official questions on StreamYard. But there may be some in the Facebook groups, and we're streaming live into a couple different groups. So if y'all have questions,
all the places.
If you all have questions, drop them in the Facebook group or live on StreamYard here. And look, it's on auto. And Bevin can answer that for you, because it's really rare to have somebody with such great experience able to answer a question for us live here. And while we're here and we're waiting for questions, I did want to mention that you have a website where
I actually have a free training next week. It's a free, and it
can be found on the website, right?
Yes. So it's at the dothedamnthing.com. You can sign up for it. It's a 5-day training, and it's all about success beyond business and success beyond like our financial successes. So how do it's like the 3 keys to making more money, having more time with your family, and making a bigger impact. And the piece, the N of the damn framework is now is the time. And I always like to stress that for 2 reasons. One, so the 2 pieces of the now is the time. One is, I get it. The hardest place to be when you're bringing something new to life is standing still, like at the start, right? Because it's inertia, right? So an object at rest tends to stay at rest. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So if you're on a career path, you're going to stay in motion unless something shifts you, right? Whatever path you're on, you will tend to stay in motion unless you put some energy into shifting that. And an object at rest tends to stay at rest. So when our feet are not moving yet, that's the hardest place. That is the place where it's going to take the most energy, attention, effort, focus, all of those things. So I teach what I call micro actions. And micro actions are the smallest possible action that you will actually take. So maybe it's coming to this training next week, right? Like maybe it's signing up for that training. Or if you want to start a business, maybe it's not build a website, it's buy the URL. That's the micro action. Yeah. So like when I talk about the fitness thing, I have broken down, the coach that I'm working with, I've broken down what she's told me into micro actions, which means like, did I do like the detox shot in the morning? Did I do breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, workout, like all of those things, right? It's not just, did I do what I was supposed to do today? It's like, what of my micro actions did I do? So getting that, and it's all about movement over mindset. We're not waiting till our mindset is right. We will never get inspired to get into action. We get into action to get inspired. So taking that action. But the other piece of the now is the time is that we never know what's going to happen at any moment to ourselves, to our family, our friends, our homes, our jobs, the world at large. We never know what's going to happen at any moment. And that is not a reason to live scared, but it is a reason to live fully. I think if I had asked anybody 3 years ago, where do you think 2020 would be? I don't know that anybody would have picked a global pandemic, right? Where we lost so many jobs. We couldn't visit family and friends as easily, all of those things, right? I don't think, when you had your son, you would not have thought when you were pregnant, like that you were going to have a medically fragile child, right? You didn't think that. If I had imagined my worst case scenarios, I still wouldn't have imagined losing my husband at the age of 40. And so we never know what's going to happen. I don't think we catastrophize. I know that we just understand that we will always have our resilience and our ability to create. And if we know that anything could change in an instant, now is truly the time to go after the dream that's on your heart.
So many gold nuggets. I'm going to listen and put like 90% of what you said on an image. I'm going to be like image. So good because just like what you're saying with the micro actions, I love that. I haven't heard you talk about that yet. I call them NICU baby steps because as a NICU baby, you celebrate like the ability to poop and hold your own body temperature, like really tiny things, And so I love this. And I love the things that you're saying because if you adopt even one of these things that you're saying, right? Like, what did you just say? If you would repeat about you don't get inspired to get into action, you get into action and then you get inspired. Like that is a micro belief and a micro thought that if you choose to take that on, it will add up to a really beautiful experience. And that's what you and I are about. End goal is let's create our own experience and let it be ours. Let it be authentic to our journey and let it be ours. And I think I'm going to take all those little quotes that you said because any one of those and you take them and you add them up and it creates a beautiful experience.
Well, and your micro actions build up to create your momentum. It's like those death trap merry-go-rounds that we had on the playground when we were kids, and rusty and metal. And you run and jump on and spin. And like, it makes me throw up now, even thinking about it. But if you think about it, it's like when you're at the beginning and everybody like grabs the bar, right? And everybody has to like put the effort in to like those first couple steps are really hard. But then everybody starts running, then everybody jumps on and you spin and spin and spin. And to keep it moving, you just put your foot out and like give it a little nudge. You don't ever have to start at the beginning again, unless you get off the merry-go-round, right? When I took 3 months of maternity leave to have Mirastella, my youngest, I didn't have to start my business from scratch. I could just pick the momentum back up using micro actions. And then eventually the momentum starts to take over and your micro actions get bigger because the smallest possible action that you actually take is bigger.
Yeah.
So it just really takes you so far and so much further and so much faster than you could ever imagine.
I love it. I love it so much. Bevin, thank you so much for your time. I want to honor where we're at about 30 minutes here. Guys, go to dothedamnthing.com and sign up for the training. I signed up this morning, so I'm signed up. I would love to see you in there with me. So let's do this together. Comment in the comments after you sign up, and let's elevate your life. Let's do it together with a community, with a bunch of women that want to support you. So Bevin, thank you so, so much for speaking your truth, sharing your beautiful smile and your authenticity. And we're going to have you back here again soon.
Thanks for having me. I love it so much.
Bye. Love y'all.